Sorry, I was going to share my screen. Still. Uh, okay, so I'm going to show Google Docs. This is just to demonstrate how um, yeah, I said I was going to put this document on Google Docs, Google Docs, so that whatever change that I have to add to this, instead of waiting for when it's complete before I share it, can actually work on it on Google Docs, and then for each change that that is being okay. So it's going to I hope I've not lost anybody in this class. I'm assuming that you guys are still understanding what we're talking about, what's a version control system. I just want to do a quick of how a local or a distributed. We'll still go deep into so if I add anything, so I can share this document with anybody, and then you can actually collaborate on, writing, working on this together. And then you have this kind of history thing you can see. Okay, this is like the current version. It was worked on 16th of May by myself. If maybe James has access to this now, and he also works on it, it will come out as part of the history, and you can always go back to the previous version. You see, when I clicked on this, what I added in this version is no more there. So this is like a basic example of what version control is, even though this is, again, very, very, very basic compared to the Git version control system that is being used for development purposes. This is mostly for maybe documentation, but we also have other tools that we use for implementation. But this just gives an understanding of what version control is. Imagine you have to write different pages working on documentation and long documentations, and we have a bunch of writers working on it. They can collaborate, and if anything, if there's any need to go back or it's something someone else worked on, it's easy to be done. Yeah, I asked you guys to download or create an account on GitHub, and even though I know we're working with Azure DevOps, and then Azure Repos is what we should be talking about, but I just want you guys to know that GitHub is industry standard. Even companies that use Azure DevOps, they still end up using GitHub as their repository. The beauty of it is Microsoft actually owns both Azure DevOps, and even Git itself. So in a way, they work hand in hand. So when we eventually start practicalizing this, we'll see that you can integrate Azure Repos and GitHub, which is like the central or remote repository now is the one which is the remote repository where all of the code that the developers work on is being merged. There are some terminologies that one should like familiarize itself with. I think I've talked about what version control is. Version control system again is used mostly for collaboration and storing different versions of projects from restore to previous version. Basically, you use it to try to understand what happened at a point in time. Also, it's mostly for backup. So it's when the developer has it on his local machine, anything breaks or comes to the remote on the server, there's a backup of that on local machine. I've talked about the types of version control kits is distributed, things like foundation, version control is centralized. So I don't. I think everybody has installed. Okay, installation of Git is kind of different from. I don't think I mentioned it that we needed to install Git. So to install Git, I think is very straightforward thing. Let's go to Google and then type install Git, because you need the Git installed on your local machine. I mentioned that you have a local Git repository on the local machine, and then there is a remote repository. So most of the work that you'll be doing will be on the local system. So you need to download Git locally. Install Git, depending on the operating system. This is like the this is like their official site. I'm going to send this to the chat. So you guys can actually, I think it detects, or it detects the operating system that you have. But, you can always come and choose the operating system that you're working with. I use Mac OS, so I install it. But I've done the installation already. Akin, you might want to quickly download this and see if you have any issue. Everybody itself, yeah, I think you all should try to download this if you've not done that already. Yeah, does anybody about to say something?
Could you go to the Windows installation?
Okay, I don't have a Windows installation. I don't have a Windows machine, but yes, it depends. It depends on what architecture your system is. If it's a 32-bit system or 64-bit.
Okay, I think I'm pretty sure it's for...
You just want to click on this and then it will download it on the system, and then just like any other installation, you double click and then it's a very straightforward installation. And after installing, you want to open up your terminal. Your terminal might be different from mine. There's a I would advise you use Git bash. Once you install Git on Windows, I think it installs a client also. There's a GUI client. It's called Git bash, Git bash. Yes, so I think that is easier to navigate with. Since I think you all said you have knowledge of using Linux, Git bash uses like the Linux kernel, so most of the commands that you run in there will be your bash commands. So if you want to use your normal Windows command line or maybe PowerShell, it means you have to, there's a learning curve to that also, to using that. Some of the commands are the same, but some of them you still need to So I'd advise you just use Git bash. It has like a similar kind of interface like this, colorful, and then play around with it. And then to be sure that you have Git on your system, I think you can just do Git -v or Git, sorry, version. Yes, you can do a Git version, and it tells you the version of Git that you have installed on your system. Okay. So after installing Git, we will be working both locally and then on Azure repos and also on GitHub. Yes, so the essence of installing Git locally so that you can communicate, can pull and push to the central repository, and then pull from the central repository, because if there's the notion of branching, which we'll be talking about later, when different people are working on the projects. Yeah, so let's assume we all are working on the project. I've worked on a change from my local and I've pushed to the remote repository. So for Akin to be able to push to that repository now, he needs to first make sure that he has all of the changes that are in that remote repository. So there's the notion of pulling. He needs to pull all of those changes into his local machine so that there can be like synergy, and they can have the history of the commit can be merged. I know with time one would understand all of these terminologies. I will be using them frequently, both when we are doing Azure pipelines also. But at any point, if you think I'm moving too fast or I'm throwing out so many terminologies that you don't understand, you can please pause and stop me so that I can explain it. Or are you guys already familiar with version control system? Has any one of you guys worked with version control systems before?
You may work with them
used it to, I don't know, maybe create, maybe you worked on projects. It doesn't have to be a project. You just had an opportunity to create a repository now, or pull and push from Git or whatever is Bitbuckets. We have a bunch of remote repositories, version control system, remote repository that can be used. Titi,
I've done some exercise with it, but I can't claim to be an expert at it.
Okay.
So yeah, but I mean I'm familiar with the pushing and pulling and
so you're not a novice, yeah.
And forking and all different.
Okay, you cloned and all of those. Okay.
Yeah, cloning. Yeah, I'm familiar with some of those terminology, but again, I still need to learn. That's why I'm here.
Akin, have you worked on Git before? Have you heard about Git before? This is for the rest of you, like Stella, Titi.
No, I've never used it.
You've not used it before, okay?
No, me neither.
Okay. But all of the terminologies I've been throwing around, is there anyone that has confused you in any way? Do you need me to go over anyone? Do you understand the notion of local and then remote repository?
Yeah, it's been clear.
Okay. Stella, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So it means I must be doing a good job then. Yeah. This is still theoretical also, but it was the theoretical part that would make us understand when we start getting into. Okay. Have you guys tried downloading Git on your local system? Should I give you a minute to try to do that? That's for Akin, Stella, and Tit.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to download it.
Okay. How about Titi? Have you downloaded?
I already downloaded it.
Oh wow! And then the Git bash. Did you see that? Did you? I think that gets installed alongside Git. So after downloading, we would. I was going to talk about the notion of local. I think I already mentioned it earlier. Anyways, okay, yes, I did. Let me just share my screen. So we'll be working mostly on the local repository, and then you can work locally, either using your terminal or your Windows PowerShell or whatever terminal that you decide to use, or you can work using your IDE. So I told you to download Visual Studio Code or whatever IDE that you feel comfortable working with. So we'll be working with either that of these. Yes, I am more a Visual Studio person because it's a Visual Studio Code rather because it's lightweight and integrate so many things to it. But again, we'll start from the basics so that you don't confuse you guys.
So if you don't mind, can we like just walk through the setup for BSC just to make sure
Or Visual Studio Code.
yeah, just to make sure everyone has the
okay,
right
and also to download
add-on or extension or whatever.
I didn't get that.
No, my question was if you could walk through the setup with Visual Studio Code just to make sure we have the right sort of add-ons and extensions
Okay.
and whatnot.
Okay. Yes, we're going to get to that. For the most part, the add-ons that you'll be adding to it, it comes pre-installed with the basic ones that you need. You don't need to download any special plugin or anything for you to. Where is my Visual Studio? Yeah. Okay, you don't need to. It comes if you go to the sidebar here. It comes with source control automatically, and is mostly GitHub. Microsoft also owns. Well, they are developers of Visual Studio Code, so it comes pre configured with this source control tab here. When you need to configure, maybe add some extension, is maybe again you're working with Python and you need UPython, or you need to install. You're working with Python code, or you want to connect your Azure accounts to it. Those are, and I think those are beyond the scope of all of this. You don't even need it for all that we're doing now. So the default, once you download it, the default settings that you have for Visual Studio Code actually sets you up for pushing and pulling to any GitHub. If you need to configure Azure, yes, when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it here. I think I have pushing and pulling to Azure DevOps repos as part of things that we'll cover. But I just want to first go through how to configure Git locally. So I think after you download Git, the first thing you want to do is you want to configure it. First time using Git, you want to be able to tell Git, this is where I am, because authorization is a very, very important thing here. Because if you are going to push into a remote repository, that repository must be able to authenticate you and say, okay, yes, this is the person that is pushing, and this is the person that is pulling from me. So I need to authenticate you to know, identify yourself. And so basically, so some basic things that you need to run. To run, I go down.
Excuse me, can you expand your that box?
Oh, small, Abby.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
It's just that it's not positioned clearly. Yeah. Is it? Do I need to increase the fonts? Increase the fonts.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think this is clear enough now. Where are you running to? That's big. It's missing everything. Everything has scattered. All right, I'm back here. Sorry. So when you're working locally, you want to organize things properly. For the most part, yeah, you want to separate projects from projects. You don't want to just dump everything anyhow. When you say I had to create a directory called summary. Don't know why I chose this within my desktop. So just to house the different projects now. Right, if you look at this summary, I have different Azure, these are different projects now, different repository, and then for each project has its own repository inside of it. Now I'm still going to explain. Hope we'll have enough time to cover this. Its own, in a way, local repository. So they are like separated from each other. It's not like on this one system, I have just one repository. No, for each project, each directory now, there's the git init command. So there bunch some commands, that comes pre installed. Once you can do a git version, that automatically gives you the ability to run git commands, and then there are some basic git commands that you'll be using from day to day. Git version is one of them. Check the version of git. Then I was going to talk about configuring git first. So before, configuring git, you have to. I think that's a global thing. So it's better you configure git first. So you have the git config command that is used to configure git, so that you can tell git who you are exactly. You start with your username. So git config global user.name, and you put that in quotes because you're going to pass in a string to that. So my name is, I've actually done all of this before, but you can reconfigure again. Shouldn't be an issue. So my name is user.name. It takes that. Also, email also. I don't want to be very lazy, so I don't want to start typing all of this again. Email, user.email. This does not have to be quoted, though I think it's always better to quote it so that, by gmail.com. I think this should be your GitHub email that you use in setting up your GitHub. It's usually better because you'll be authenticating against GitHub or Azure Repos later. But for Azure Repos, you'll be generating some tokens that you're using, authorizing, pushing and pulling to the Azure Repos. So those first two commands are very, very important, and you can add other things to it, but those two are like the basic configuration that you want to add to Git. Let me just throw in this one. This adds, if you want your GitHub to be as colorful as mine, I think git config global also, and then you have color.ui. I think you can set it to auto. Okay. Global has to be with 2 dashes. This is the beauty of running commands. The computer will tell you, come on, I don't recognize that. Did you mean this? So yeah, because I have all of this, all of these changes, you'll not see them take effect because I've done all of this before. And you can also check the list of your configuration after you've done your config, and then you don't see all that you've configured. You can do a git config -list. So you can see all of these are all the configuration that I have. But for you, you might not have set all of this. These are the ones that I set. I set color.ui to auto. I set my username and then my password, email name, and then the color. But for the rest of these ones, you can play around with it. They are more you can personalize it as you see fit. I think you have a git. You can have a git config help. So so you have, for you to see the various options that you have to be able to work with. It's plenty documentation. So one of the, would I say, advantage or disadvantage now of both being a developer or a DevOps. So, once you work with any kind of technology, you should be able to look at documentation. You will be working with documentations most of the time. It's like buying a new gadget also, you have the manual. So the documentation is, how you understand that tool set. I think I mentioned in the introductory class where the list of tools that you have to work with as a DevOps person is plenty. Yes, it's so much that for a particular concept, say version control now, we have various tools. We have various remote repository. You have GitHub, you have Bitbucket, you have CircleCI, you have Azure Repos, and then different organizations actually use these different tools depending, on the organization you're working with. You might have to work with some of these tools, and so your ability to switch from using one tool to another tool. It's just that the underlying principle, is the same. So if you're using GitHub now, you understand, if you know Git, you know all of the remote repositories, you can work because they all use Git as their underlying, technology, software now. So it's all going to be the same thing. It's just your ability to now, put them. So this is the documentation that will help you able to, navigate and understand all of this. It's a long read. It's a long, so the basic ones I've just extracted: Git, the user.name and the user.email. Those are like the ones that, would shut GitHub from complaining that you are trying to push. I don't know who you are. Once you have your name and then your email configured, you can push and pull as you want. But if you now want to customize, okay, yes, you want to add color, you want to set how pull requests are being handled, yes, you have the option to read all of this and then get how they work. Yeah, so after configuring, you now want to, for the most parts, you will not be initializing any Git repository, but I'm going to initialize the Git repository so you understand what it means to initialize a Git repository for a particular project. So for this, I'm going to make a directory and call it me DevOps. Then I'm going to go into that directory. Me DevOps. So if I list, you can see that there's nothing in this directory now. So this is just a directory housing nothing. So the command to actually make this directory a Git repository, a local Git repository, is very, very simple: Git init. So if you can read all of this, this is the part that is what I said: initialized empty Git repository in. See, this is the directory, and then this dots. When I list everything I have here now, you see that a .git directory has been created. It is this directory that actually does all of the work. This is where all of the history, the logs, everything for this particular directory is being stored locally. So this is where everything, and it's advised or advisable not to, you can go into it and play around with it. But if you want if you're working with, if your project is live now, you don't want to enter inside this place. You just want to leave it as it is. Say it has changed, that is inside the Git directory now.
Yeah, quick question.
Yeah.
All right, so can I share my screen?
Oh, okay. Let me Let me set and give you the option to share. Okay.
All right. So. Okay, so I have this right here.
Okay.
And so I just downloaded, and this is Git Bash.
Mm-hmm.
So my first question is, how do I?
You want to
As you
create a
can see here,
repository.
I don't want to work out of my desktop.
Desktop, yes. I mentioned that organization is very, very important. You want to keep your files, structured and properly organized. Okay, so make directory is the command to create a directory, but you have to name the directory. So that's why it's telling you that make directory, there's a missing operand. So make directory, yes, now name it. And then naming is also a skill. You want to create names that are simple and that is meaningful also. So you can now change directory into that directory that you just created. Or once you start typing, you can click on tab, it will automatically. So you see it's empty. So you can now get.
Okay, so okay, I get it, but see, I'm still trying to.
No, that's not. Do print working directory. That will tell you the directory you're in. Is the first you can see is in user kickout and then it's Azure Git. The what you're looking at is what is in front. It's just this is how Git Bash is structured. I was telling you I configured my own environment in my own way. So you can play around configuring Git Bash so that it takes away all of those desktop that is showing, and you just want it to just list the directory that you are working in. So it's a configuration.
Yeah, okay. So it's just a matter of removing them from the prompts, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But the actual directory that you're working on is in front. You can see it's where you have the tilde and then the backslash
right.
Git. So that's the directory that you're working in. Yeah. So you want to do a Git init in here to. I know you said you have worked with Git before.
Yeah, no, I'm not strange to this thing. Like I've played with it before. It's been a while, but I still, I think I can
practice
with some guidance I can find my way around.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. The thing about technology is even if you need to work with it time and again, the more you use it, the more you get better at using it. Titi, are you following us? Are you working with this your system, or you're just listening in to practice it later?
No, I'm currently working on it. So I created the DevOps directory as well.
Okay.
But like I did that LSLA command.
Okay.
And I had like 17,990. Okay, but then I was not in that directory.
Oh, okay. Yes, that is going to pull in all of the files and directory that you have in maybe your desktop or
my desktop.
Yeah, that's what that is.
What do you have on your desktop that you have 17,000 files? Hey.
Do you know how
information?
I'm busy.
Yeah, okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. So have you been able to initialize the Git repository in the directory that was created?
Oh, so once we create the new directory, then we have to do a Git init.
Yes, once you have yes, the directory, like I was explaining that for each directory that you have, you can have a local directory in that. You can have a local repository in that directory. So is this .git is an ed file. So to list it, if you list it with just ls, you will not see. Sorry, let me go back to Let me go back one step. So if you just do an ls in this directory, you see that it's not listing anything. But because I'm doing an ls-la, it's listing it. So it's an hidden file. It's a file that you don't want to tamper it, because that's it's like the engine room, or yes, for your local repository, all of your configuration, your commit history and everything. I'm going to go into it and then just talk about it. I'm not going to really dwell on it because you don't even want to touch it at all.
I don't have it.
You have to do a git init in that directory first before it will come into it. You have to initialize.
Yes, like, so how do what command do I use to initiate the?
To initialize it. Do you want to share your screen?
Sure.
It's GITINIT. Is it one word, 2 words? I think it's one word. Right?
Is 2 words after the git. Git is like the command you use to invoke other sub commands now.
Okay.
I'm just gonna clear.
Yeah, okay.
And then you said, what did you say I should do?
Have you done a git init in this directory?
No.
Okay, so do git space init, git initialize. They are saying git, I want you to make this directory a local repository.
So git space init. That's it.
That's it. So you see it
Okay.
initialized empty git repository. So if you do
Okay,
ls -la, so you have that
Alright.
git directory in there. And if you go into that directory, you see you have other things in there, but they are, again, you don't want to tamper with this. I'll talk on it just so you know that this is here, and then it's is actually the engine room, like I said, for every local directory that you create, and each directory actually houses its own gits. So you have the config is like, yes, where you can configure this direct repository. Why do I keep saying directory? Repository to suit your own taste. Again, this is for Git's advanced usage. For the most part, you don't even touch it at all. Well, you just know that yes, it is there, and then this ed file is where all of the Git's logs. Yes, now the houses. We'll get to talking about commits, and then hash. For each commit, an hash algorithm is created. Say 40 string character string that you use for history, for Git history. So again, the basic one is initializing it and knowing that yes, this my directory is a Git repository, and then it's when you list it, you see that you have that .git directory. So this particular directory is a Git directory. I also want to just point out that so for each of these directories that I have now, this test summary, May, DevOps, there are different directories. They all, like I said, have their own local directory. If I go into, say, Azure somewhere now, I do an ls. Everything that I have in here stays inside this directory. It is not in a way going to conflict with what I have in here. The repository that is being set up for this is different from the repository that is being set up for this. So these are different projects, and then it's like saying you have different developers, like I drew in that whiteboard. You see this developer is in Europe, this one is in India, this is somewhere else, even though they are sitting in the same computer computer now, but they are, separated in a way, they're not seeing each other as, and then it does not conflict. They are not conflicting each other. I'm going to switch back to okay. Okay, I think for the local, yes, we'll talk about working directory and the staging index later. And we've configured our gate. Git needs to make a brand new repository. So again, for the most part, you will not be initializing a Git repo as a DevOps person. You would, depending on the organization, you might be the one to handle the remote repository. So what it means by managing it is you create repositories, you add users to different repository, depending, you can have different teams working on different repositories. So I think it's part of the DevOps job description to manage the remote repository. You grant permissions to different developers working on different repositories. So once you create your repository, you just give them the repository link. For you guys that just created your GitHub account, you probably don't have any repository. Yeah. So I'm going to walk us through creating a new repository, and then we'll be cloning that repository on our local machine. So once you open your GitHub accounts, click on repository or wherever it is, you just look for the new button now. And when you click on new, it's going to bring you to create a new repository page. You just name your repository. I'm going to name this also May 2023 DevOps. You can add a description. I'm just going to like type in too much, and then you create repository. Usually, you don't want to initialize if you click on initialize this repository readme, it initializes this repository. But I want us to work on industry standards. If you are creating a repository for a team of developers, you don't want to initialize it. You want the initialization to be done by the developer. So yes, you just create an empty repository and then you create it. And then you get all of this instruction. Very, very important. It's like what would guide you into adding your repository to your local machine. I said it most of the time, mostly you'll be working locally. So, and then you need to create a link between your local machine and the remote repository. So I'm going to follow these steps one after the other locally. So the first thing it's saying is echo this and create a README file. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come back to I'll paste this here. It's saying echo creates this readme.md file and then put this content into it. So if I do an ls now, it will have the readme file. Yeah. And if I cut what we have in the readme file, yeah, we have the May DevOps blah blah blah. Yeah. I've done the Git. We've done the Git in it already locally, so I don't have to do it again. Then we have
question.
Yeah.
How important is naming convention?
It cannot be overemphasized. It's not like anybody will hold you to it. but is to save yourself future headaches. Have you worked on a particular document before, and then you didn't name it accordingly? Let me look for an example now. Maybe you're doing a documentation on CI/CD, but you named it. You just called it by your name. You named it, okay, yeah, James. And then when you are looking for that documentation, maybe after 2 days, you're lost. Like, what you have, you don't, if you don't name it properly, your documents, your files, when it's time to maybe work on that document or file again, it's going to give you a tough time locating it, especially if you are one that works on different, you're multitasking and you work on different things at the same time, and then you pick one, drop one. If it's not properly named, it's going to be an headache. And when it comes to when you now get into doing advanced things, yeah, like naming, when you name your database, because you'll be provisioning different infrastructure for different teams. And if you're not properly organized in how you name those things, it's going to be, and to give you a headache, on the long run when you have to start locating those files, those resources, that you provisioned or that you created. So naming anything, yeah, is very, I default in it so many times, but I'm really daily I tell myself, when you're creating things, create it once so that you don't go back and you're trying to edit and there's no fast rule about how you do it. Is mostly personal. You'll be the one to say, okay, yes, if I'm creating maybe servers now, I want to name it, or any infrastructure in the cloud, I want to name it, give it a name, and then append something to it so that I can easily tell that this resource is for this. This resource is the type of this kind of service now, if you have it. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me, please. I have a question.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Can I share my screen?
Okay.
Okay.
Let me stop sharing. Hello?
Okay.
Stop sharing.
So I'm trying to figure out this. I tried to configure, but it's not going. Let me try it again. Maybe I'm not getting it right.
Global, yes. User.name. So that's gone.
Is it done?
Yeah, it's not. Did it throw you any error that?
No, but my name is not yet there. I thought it was up there.
It print out your name immediately, except you do a git config - list. That's when it will list all the configuration that you've done.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Have you created the directory and initialized it?
No, not yet.
Okay. Do you want to let's watch you do that. That's command that you type first. I don't know. Make
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So you want to change directory into, again, see, we're just talking about naming conventions now. What does SA mean?
Okay.
So you want to, even if it's for a test the directory, you still want to use a name that is a bit descriptive so that when you come back to it, okay, yes, this is why I created this.
Okay.
Because again, you'll be creating plenty things, and then it will get overwhelming at the point.
Okay. So do I have to initialize or do I have to
You have to
see
change into that directory first. Just creating the directory does not, or else if you initialize your desktop as a Git directory for the best of,
Okay.
now you can now do your Git in it.
Is that it?
Yes, I think,
Okay.
yeah, if you do an ls-la, so that you have your Git directory. You have your Git. So yes, this is the directory. And then you see the master in front of it, and is just saying is the name of the branch. We'll talk about branching and the likes later. Yes.
Okay.
Oh yes, you are good to go.
Thank you.
So I was talking about, so we've initialized our local repository already, so we don't have to do a Git in it already. But because, I just created this file now, I created this README file, and we have this Git status command that lists, it tells you, so there's the notion of working directory, and then we have staging index. So when you edit a file, when you add a file or you edit a file that exists already in a directory that is a Git repository, it Git tracks that file, and it keeps record of it, and so it tells you, okay, yes, you have worked on this file, or you are working on this file. I'll probably need to draw this so that I can make more sense. Just a minute, please. Let me bring up the whiteboard. Okay, so okay, so let's assume this is your your Git repository. So there's this. So this is your Git repository. When you are working on a particular document now, so the Git repository is like partitioned into 3 parts. Into 3 parts. These lines are supposed to be. So you have the working directory. The working directory is like the default directory. This is where all of your the code changes. Everything you write is being done. So when you are done working on it, there's and then you have your staging staging. See, your N is running from the staging index and staging directory, the staging index. So after working on a particular file, it's just there. The Git tracks it, but we've not told Git to explicitly keep a record of it. So there's the Git, you should have add command. This is add. We can't see this when we implement it. So you tell Git, take all the change that I've made in my working directory, help me create history for it, start tracking it. That's what they tell Git to start tracking those files. And so Git now creates like a mini I call it version now of this file, or a mini version of all of your code, and then it stores them in this staging index with all of the dates it was created, the file, the lines, that was edited, all of it. It keeps them inside the staging index. But this is your repository now. This is the local repository itself. Local. This is your local. So you have these three parts on your system now. All of this is sitting on your system. It does not have anything to do with this now. This is on your system. All of this big box is that directory that you created. The one that Stella created now, let's say, this is that directory. This is the directory and is split into three parts. So Git tracks this one. So once you have done this, anything in this staging index is just, you just told Git to keep track of all of this. But if you are going to store it permanently, you now do a Git commit. Git add, you have to tell it, is this okay? Let's say you worked on the readme file earlier. This is the read continue file. Once you do a Git add, you tell Git, this is the particular file that I want you to start tracking that I've worked on. I want you to help me keep a copy of it in your staging environment. Yeah, so Git will take that particular file, and if it's a bunch of files, you can add them together. There's also a Git add in the period. And say, okay, I've worked on 10 different files, just take everything and help me put everything inside the staging index. And then you now have your local repository. Is your local repository that is in a way connected to this remote repository? Is anything that you've committed here that you can push to your remote repository? So this Git commit, now you want to add, there's a notion of adding a message to it. We're going to see all of this because it's all part of the list of instruction that GitHub actually gives you when you create a new remote repository. Simplified, how you do all of this, add, commit, and then push. So from the staging environment, you do a Git commit. I say, okay, yes, take all of these files that you are tracking now, GitHub, and help me store them in my local repository, keep them safe for onward transmission now to the remote repository. So Git takes all of this, the files that you've staged here, and then it moves them into your remote repository, and then from there you can now do a Git push it to your remote repository if you have connected your remote repository to the local repository. Okay, yes, so I'm going to go back to sharing. Back to GitHub. Like I said, we've already initialized, and so this is the Git add command like I explained now, copying that, and you know, because this is part of the files that I've worked on. That's why it's in red. It's telling you it's an untracked file. I know you've worked on it, but I am not. I don't have it. You know, you've not told me explicitly to keep track of it, to keep it there. So we're going to do a git add this particular file because we've worked on it. If you have more than one files, you list them there. If you've worked on plenty files, you can just do a git add and a period. That period signifies all of the files that, you know, it's going to list a bunch of files here. Git add all of this. So you enter now. Then git commits. Tell Git, take it from the staging environment, put it in my my repository. So it tells you there's one file that has been changed. One file has been inserted, has been stored in your remote repository. And so we also have the git log command. Is it git logs? Yeah, it's git log now. Yes, this is the hash I was talking about. This is the hash that actually tells you, okay, yes, this person called Moyo on this day created this. This is the message. That's why they always tell if you are creating a commit, if you are taking anything from your staging environment to your staging index to your local repository now, you want to add a commit that actually states the kind of change that you did. All of these examples, they are very basic now, but once you start working on proper configuration files, maybe you edited an environment variable. Now you want to state it here that, okay, yes, updated environment variable for a particular project, you know, something descriptive that when you have to come back to your log now, your commit history. They call this commit history. We have more than, you know, this is just the only commit that we've done here. That's why it's the only one there. Over time, we'll see plenty history. I'll do some advanced examples so that you can see the power of, you know, storage of all of this. So we have the git log command to list all of this command, and this hash is also very, very important. This, if you need to revert back to maybe previous commits, this is what you use with your git reverts command, I think, yes. So this is just to list your, so going back to this, this is telling Git to, so if in our repository now, you can see that we're having master as if you do a Git branch. So automatically when you initialize a Git repository, this default branch gets created called the master branch. Branching is a way of working on your local repository now, and then having different versions of, like, okay, yes, I'm working on a particular file, but okay, and I have a particular algorithm to say now, but I'm not sure of the logic on getting the algorithm to work. And I've worked on some that has worked, but I don't want to disrupt those ones that have worked. So I want to create like a separate branch now out of that one that is working to test this idea of how this algorithm should work. So I'll create another branch so that I can test all of that. And if it works, fine. I can now merge it into that original branch that I have. But if it doesn't work, I can easily discard it. Okay, yes. Okay, you didn't work. Okay, yes, I have another idea. I create another branch to test if that will work. So this, what Git is telling us here. So I just introduced the notion of branches. I can have branches out of the one branch that you have to be able to work on different ideas or different different strategies now if you have it for while you are working. All of this would make more sense when you work on real life projects and then you have a reason to do all of this. I'll try as much as possible as time will permit us to actually see we can work on a real life project, edit as much files as I can, and then see how you can use different branches and then merge them back into the master or main branch. So I think after 9/11, so I think Black Lives Master. I don't know when they decided to not use master as the GitHub naturally brought it. Git still uses this. So what this is saying, create a branch and name it main branch instead of using the default master branch as Git created it. GitHub now is saying I want to make my main branch called I want to name it main. I don't want to have it called master. So it's going to do that. You can see I have master here, but once I run this command, you see that it has changed that name to sorry, to main. And if I do a git branch again, yes, see that it has changed that original branch, that was created when you initialize this repository to call it main. And also because when you created the repository in GitHub, it's the main branch that actually gets created so that they are in sync. That's why we have to do this. And then this is the command that actually links your local repository to the remote repository. So you have git remote add origin and then the URL of this. If you see if you come to your title, you see that it corresponds to what you have here. It's just that it's now appending .git to it. So this adds your local so that you can push and pull at any time. Yeah. And then I can take, if you do a git status now, I forgot, I should have, it's telling you there's nothing, your working tree is clean. That's your working directory. You've not edited any file. So the moment you actually, the mistake I did, any of you that is working on it, before you do a git commit, you want to do a git status. That's when you do, after you do this git add, if you do a git status before you do the commit, it will tell you, okay, yes, in the place of this red telling you I have on track file, it will tell you that it is tracking these files. In fact, let me create a new file now. Let me just demonstrate this. Let me echo. What is in the approach? Let me echo hello world. I don't want to type. Hello Stella. So I'll create a new file for me. And it to it. Let's call it some text. TXT. Okay, my code is getting sort of okay. So if I do a git status, what? That didn't work. I did not add money. Cool. Some file. txt. What are you complaining about? Events not found. Really? What is this thing like? Am I doing it? It wants to show. Something that doesn't want me to use. Stella. Okay. So that has been created with status. So this is being tracked now. So git add. So we're doing git status now. You can, it's telling you now that yes, I'm tracking this file, and it can be staged. You can put it into that local repository. So I'm going to make it bit. Everything working trace is clean. So we've added if we git log now. Okay. So you see the first commit that was made. By saying this is the most recent change. So this is the edge. This is where, and so this is just a sample of how powerful this is. And if you are working on a proper project, this gets very, very large because you work on it daily. The essence of DevOps is to get your code as fast as possible to the end user. So you have your developers doing this around the clock, working on different aspects of the project, pulling and pushing, committing, adding. So this is very, very major, in software development and DevOps as a whole. So finally, you want to take all that you've worked on in your local now, and you want to push it to so git push is the command to push, and then you're telling it where to push it to. The origin is the main branch. If you have created a feature branch now, we'll work on that next. But let's just push all of these new changes that we've done now. So yes, so it's three. All of this is plenty since that we need. So if you come back and refresh this page now, so you can see the two files that you just created from your local machine gets added here, and it gives you proper timing of when they were created. And also GitHub, you can also can see the two commits, first committed, the first commit, and then second commit. You see you have your branch here also. You can view all branches and create branches from here and do all sorts from the GUI of GitHub. So is there any question after this? Okay. Are you guys still with me? because we are going to Azure Repos now. This was just like an introduction to Git, GitHub. This course is about actually Azure DevOps. So would be, I think we should talk about Azure Repos also. We'll be using it from Azure Repos. Azure Repos is just like a type of GitHub. So they fall under the same toolbox, which is the source control management tool, decentralized source control management tool. So everything that we just did here, you have it here also in Azure Repos. You can create so automatically by default Azure Repos once you create a project, a repo is created with the name of that project. That's why we have Agile project. You can see this is the name of the project, repos, files, and then Agile project. Are you guys still following me? Should we take a 5 minutes break? Titi?
Yeah.
Who is supporting that? You need to
okay, James.
Okay. Okay, so let's just take let's take 10 minutes.
Sounds good.
Well, water. Akin, you've not said anything since, so you'll not start harassing me on WhatsApp during the week. This is your opportunity to ask questions or whatever it is so we can trash it out once and for all.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to watch the video over. And
it's better you follow along, and then any issue you have, if you watch the video later and then you have questions, it means you have to wait until the next class. And then, I don't know, even during the next class, you might not even have that desire to even want to take us back, even though I don't mind you taking us back. But, it's during the class that it's always better to try as much as possible to all whatever questions you have. Even though, okay, yes, watching the video and then bringing your questions to class also works. But okay. Like Stella had an issue now, and then she shared her screen. She's able to get unblocked immediately. Anyhow, we're on break now. Balumi, where were you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I told you that you should have called me.
I sent you messages.
Messages. I don't receive notifications.
You know that turned off notification.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who is to blame for that one?
Yeah. So I feel like I don't know that. I will like hear anything. Just have called.
It's all right. I'll call you. Call you next time. No, don't sleep on Wednesday because I need to get a.
Can I use this break to share my screen real quick?
Okay.
Yeah, I need some unsticking before. So this. All right, so I was on track, but then I think I did something and I went left field. So right now this is okay. Let me just close this out real quick. All right, so okay, this is advanced, right? All right. So my issue is
you still want to get rid of all of that thing in front of you.
No, that's not my board right now. Okay, let me see. Okay, my mistake. Yeah. First thing, I mean, I know I'm working out of my desktop, but all of this, like, this is not supposed to happen.
Are you sure this is not your? Can you print your working directory to be sure of where you are now?
Right.
So you are not on desktop. You are in your own directory.
Right. Okay.
You can do a CD desktop.
Okay. Yeah, I did a couple of CDs. Okay. Yeah, that's true. So how?
So,
But the issue is I can't find the Azure Gate directory I created earlier.
I think you created that on your desktop. So do a
Okay.
CD desktop. Your desktop is usually with capital D. Yeah, in this case, sensitive. No, it's just the D that is capital. Do a D, E, then tab. Press tab. Enter. Okay, you can do an LSLA now to see if you still have so many files in here. This will show, just do an LS. Don't do an LA, just do an LS. So do you see the file here?
It's still not showing.
You probably did not. What did you call the file? I think we can do a find.
Okay. Should I put it in parentheses or string or something?
I think you can just, well, if it's not on the desktop, it won't say it. Maybe go back, just do a C.
It is Windows, so it's like it's different.
Okay, no, it's Git bash now.
Is DI is okay, this is Git bash.
Do a CD to go back to your home directory and then do a find in that home directory. No, not okay, just a CD will take you back. Okay, yeah, now do a find and then. Oh.
You can just use your what do you call it now, like this normal file explorer.
Okay. Yes, do your file explorer. Open an explorer. Okay. And then maybe search this PC. Just go to search this PC and then you have gone back to home. It would have been better if you even though it's going to take more time. So you can know exactly where it was created. Even though it should come up even in this recent. Where did they run to?
Is it an eating file?
It's not. It's a Git repository itself. You can just work on it now.
Or if it's a Git repository, try using like the dot. Because it's like it always comes up as eating.
Wait, I
Okay,
thought
say that again.
Like try with a prefix dots.
it's not. It's a directory. Created it using make directory.
Yeah.
But when you clicked on your Windows Start now, I think it brought it out when you search for it.
You mean my file explorer?
Well, when you clicked on the Windows icon, and you open that, yeah, and then when you search for it, do search your kids.
This is all like web.
Yes.
Web results. Yeah, web results.
Click on
document. Let's see what that. Yeah, so, but okay, so all right, let me do this.
That's serious. Where did you run to? So this also so you need to be sure you didn't create in OneDrive. I can't, for some reason, I myself, I didn't take note of where that was created.
You know what? That's a possibility.
It's a new.
But I'm seeing one here that is called iTern. Is that not it?
No, it's called.
Where is it? Where is it?
iTern Azure Gates. I don't know. I just after favorites.
Yes, after favorites, that's true. Underneath, yes, that's it.
Okay. Okay, so
So it's called
right,
iTern Azure Gates, not Azure Gates. Yes.
Okay, okay, this is funny because I was in the process of renaming it, but then I kept getting these weird response that it's not. Okay, so let me see. Maybe it's the new name. Okay.
What are you?
Oh, sorry.
CD.
Okay. I mean, we can get back to the class, so I can continue this later.
Okay. Are you good now?
Well, at least I have a lead. At least I know the new directory was created.
Okay.
So let me go by that lead and see what I can find, and I'll get back at it. Right. 1 second. Hello?
Yeah.
No. 1 second. All right, thanks. I gotta answer a phone call real quick.
Okay. Is everybody back? Titi, Stella, you guys, I could not even go and get water that I wanted to get, right? Yeah. Hi guys.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'm here too.
Okay. Like I was saying, yeah, once you create your projects, automatically Azure DevOps creates a default project, repository now, and names it like the name of your project. So just like we have in GitHub, I forgot to mention that for your GitHub also, when you come to GitHub, your repository, you have this part here, that gives you a URL that you can use to clone this particular remote repository to or maybe it was someone else that actually created this remote repository, and then you want to clone it onto your local machine. You can just copy this URL and then you go to your local machine and you do a git clone. But we have this already. Okay, let me demonstrate with an existing repository. Let me take one of the repository that I have in here. Take this. I'm just going to go one step back so I can come to. I'm going to keep using this. Then git clone, and I paste the URL that I copied from GitHub in here. So it will take all of the code that I have in that remote repository and then paste it in here. But he just cloned it. He has created that repository. This is the repository I just cloned. So I have to now change directory into that repository. All of the files that I have in GitHub automatically has been pulled into my local directory, and then I can start working on it, and then any change I make can push back to the remote repository. Okay, I think we've talked about GitHub, and let's now touch on Azure DevOps repos. Again, it's the same principle. You have your repository, you can create a repository. Why is the again, this is the yet. This thing is not doing. It's not doing this thing right. There should be. Sorry, please excuse me. What? Okay. Yes, this was not. Maybe this was not because things were just missing. I've not refreshed the page. So again, it opens. It creates an empty. It's telling you, this repository is empty. Add some code to it. I'll initialize this by just coming down here. I want to initialize this repository now. It's empty now. There's nothing in it. So I want to initialize it by, let me just create a Visual Studio. Let's take a Visual Studio template to initialize it. I'm going to initialize it. Yeah, so this has been initialized. I think he initializes it with a C#. All of those does not matter. Yeah, so I have a repository now, and it has a branch called the main branch, which is the default branch. Here, this is the name of the branch. Like I said earlier, you can have multiple repository in an Azure DevOps project. This means you can have separate teams working on different repositories on in a particular project. The project can be broken down into sub projects now, microservices. So even though they'll be working, together, but so that it is separated, different teams can work on different aspects of the project. That can be used by using the new repository to create multiple repositories, and then you can import the repository. I can import the repository now from GitHub. If I export the one I just, this is just like your clone. The clone I just did, for my local, I can actually do it, in Azure DevOps also. I don't want to do this because it's going to disrupt things I want to have, but know that you can actually clone. Okay, I'll just do this with another project. Let me switch to this first project here. Do clone repository. So you can choose between the type of repository, Git or Team Foundation. I told you this Team Foundation is a centralized version control system, which is not recommended, but Azure just decided to still leave this here for legacy applications, but mostly this is what we're using. So once we click on that, it will pull in all of those code from GitHub. It's just the cloning that we did using code. Working with Azure DevOps it saves you plenty writing of code. It makes gives you a GUI, you say now, or working with Git, working with the remote version control system. We have the view. You can see there's only one commit for this particular directory. We only have one.
Yeah, I found it.
Okay. Okay. Organizing is very, very important. If
Oh my
you
God,
just
yeah.
throw things around, you know, I talked about having headache when you're looking for things.
Oh my goodness.
Before you create anything, you want to be sure of the directory that you're working from, and then you want to create directories for, you know, can even make it layered. Have it, okay, yes, I'm working with Azure DevOps. I want to have that top directory, then you can now have different directories inside that one directory. All right. So yes, Azure, you can clone, can create multiple repositories. Like you see, this is the repository that was imported, and we still have that first repository which is the default one. And then you have, you know, settings where you can do all sorts. You can rename, you can delete. I'm going to delete this. So this, and then you have the settings. Again, you can play around all of this. The most ones you will be working with is policies and securities, where you can enforce some certain things, can create branch policies to protect the branch. You don't want just anybody to be able to push to, like, you have a master branch that will be serving your production environments now. You don't want just anybody to be able to push that master or main branch now. You're going to create protection around it, and then add some things to it. So that branch automatically include reviewers, you add that to it. There's a lot that you can do in terms of creating policies and then security around different branches. Is basically yes, you do all of that in your branch, managing the repository, authorizing the right people to be able to push to it, and then adding reviewers. So developers, when they work on, we'll get to the notion of pull request, and then I want to talk about creating branches now. So I'm going to switch back to
Question.
Yes.
How did you get that list of commands in GitHub where you had the readme, the commits, and all of that?
I don't understand that. Okay, use your up. It's like a history. Use your up arrow button it will bring out a list of all the commands that you've typed before. Is that I hope that's what you're talking about.
Okay, can I share my screen just one more time?
Okay.
Just one more time just to show this thing is. All right, so sure. All right, so this is okay. So this is that's the directory I created, right? And that's the same. It's the same as this now. I guess the question is about linking.
Okay, I told you when you create a remote repository, you should not click on that initialize repository with a README file. So when you created this repository, now this remote repository, I think you clicked on initialize.
I should have done it inside of the bash.
No, not inside of the bash. Not inside of the bash now. Okay, just go back to the GitHub now.
Okay.
So go back. Just click on your username. That's Kunim.
This one?
No. Kunim. Yes. Okay. Click on repositories. Repositories.
Right for that.
That's beside overview in the middle top.
Yeah. Oh, right here. Okay.
Click on new. Okay, create. Just name it.
Okay.
Me DevOps.
Okay.
DevOps.
Your project.
Okay. Okay, so I'm sure when you created that one, where you see initialize this repository with a README, you clicked on add a README file. I told you don't initialize your repository, or else you will not get those instructions. Aid you. So you want to scroll down. Don't click on it. If you click on it, you're not going to just click on create repository now.
Like create.
Yes. So this will now give you a list of this is what you're looking for, yeah.
Okay, so is there a way I can reverse it?
No, you can't reverse it. You can just use this
a new one.
To if you need to connect that former repository, or it's just in that remote git remote add origin. So you just get the URL for that, former the first repository that you created and add it to your local.
Switch it up, right?
Mm.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Stella, are you still with us?
Yes.
All right, cool. I hope you guys are not having any challenge that you need to. It looks like it's just James that is enjoying his money here. I want you all to also enjoy your money. You people should ask me questions. Titi. It's very easy, straightforward, yeah?
No, I didn't say that. I'm digesting. I'm digesting it. I guess I don't have any questions.
Okay. It'll make more sense when we start working on Azure pipelines, and then we need to clone different projects and then create files against them, create workflows, create different things that it will make more sense then. Yeah. So this was the repository that I initialized earlier with the Visual Studio file. This just automatically just creates a bootstrap README file and Git file. So there are loads of GitHub templates that you can actually use. We'll be creating, we'll be forking different repositories as time goes. Okay, yes. I would want us to clone this repository to our local machine. So we can actually, yes, I knew I wanted to touch on this. So Azure Repo actually gives you this interface, or this, that I put it now, option to clone your repository directly to your Visual Studio. Yeah, I think that's what I said. Create Visual Studio, download Visual Studio. So you can clone in VS Code. It gives you the option, or any other IDE that you may. A ton of IDEs. We're using Visual Studio Code. But before you can clone to Visual Studio Code, you need to generate credentials, like to authenticate yourself, to tell Azure DevOps that, okay, yes, I am legit. So I'm going to click on generate. So this password, you want to take note of it. Copy this password, and then you now click on clone in GitHub, Visual Studio Code. This is opening my Visual Studio somewhere else. Why are you opening it in? Okay, so it's telling me to pick a destination where I want to clone this repository in. So I'm going to just use this summary directory that I created earlier, and I'm going to select it as a would you like to open or add it to yes, open? For some reason, I think this they ask for me to put that password because I have done this before. But if you'll be doing it for the first time, it's going to prompt you for the password, and then the password that you copied here, you will paste it in there before that repository gets cloned. If you think we are moving too fast, please, you can tell me so we slow down. I know there's a lot going in here. We went from local to remote, and then we're back to Azure Repos, and then we're now opening things in the Visual Studio. The time is actually very, very short, so we're trying to converse with it because there's a lot going on in here. But yeah, I believe if you go over the video and then you try to follow along, it will make more sense. So this repository that we have remotely has been cloned locally, and then we have direct communication with that remote repository. Yeah, so these are the files that we have here. See, all of this is all that we have in here. There's no, the only history here is just this admin. But I'm going to go to the, yes, and I'm going to create a new file. Yeah, the beauty of using IDEs is that you have an option to create, instead of typing out code, you have, if you're lazy like myself, you would find this very, very easy to use. So I'm going to add a new file and just call it index. We have an index page, index.html. Very, very rusty with writing HTML. HTML. This is not a programming course, but you guys must be comfortable writing code, saying code, right? I have my body now. So Save this. Then I'm going to open a terminal. Inside Visual Studio Code, you can actually open a terminal underneath here. You come to terminal. I don't know how what shows up in Windows here, but I think you have terminal also. And then you see it automatically knows the project that we're working with. No, it's the name of the project actually. We're doing Git. All of your Git command also runs in here. So it tells me that yes, it is an index.html file that has been created. So I'm going to do a Git. Who's going to walk me through how to get this to my remote repository? Titi, walk me through it, please. What do I do to start tracking this file? Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes. So walk me through this step. I know we've done this. We did this from the terminal to GitHub. So, but now we want to do this for Azure Repos. So after editing a file, what is the command to take this file and put it in the staging index?
Do we, is it though, like we run the, what do you call it, the git add readme? No.
It's git add. So yes, git add, and once a file is on track, okay, yes, you want to tell Git, okay, add this file to my staging environment. I told you Git is separated. Your local repository now is broken down into 3 parts. You have the working directory where all of these changes that you do happens, and then you have the staging environment or staging index where you tell Git, okay, yeah, you can now start tracking all of this using the Git add. Is either you use Git add all if I have a bunch of files in here. In fact, let me still add one other file just so just add galumi.txt. Don't mind my lack of memory. So I go do a Git status now. So you see I have 2 files that is being tracked. So I can have a bunch of files, folders. Let me add the folders for CSS. I will folder here. Come back here and do Git status. Why are you not tracking it?
So this CSS is an extension of that CSS, right? So your name.
No, it's just a.
What's the matter?
I'm going to create a style.css in here. No adding anything to you. I don't remember how to do all this. So I'm just going to leave you. Let me see. I'm just trying to add a bunch of things so that's signal. How do you leave? Whatever. So let me do a Git status again. Okay, so I have the CSS folder now, and the file is in. So I can add all of these files one after the other. I can do a Git add list CSS as it is, index, HTML, But again, if you are lazy like me, Git has this shortcut to add all of these files once and for all. It's the period. So Git add period means every file that is on tracks that I'm working on, just take all of it and add all of them to the staging environment. So if I do a Git status now, you see that there are new files and they are sitting in. This is now pointing to the exact file that we have inside that CSS directory.
Oh, so you just do git add period, and then
Period, yes.
that's it.
Yes, that adds all of the file. Well, usually, you'll be working on different files at the same time. Well, if you are a developer now, this is a developer kind of wahala. If you are working.
Oh yeah, the period is the present working directory.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
it's that current directory. Yes, that you are in.
Okay, the current directory.
It
Right?
takes all of the files. That's it. Okay. Back to TT. Stella, do you want to help with the next command to take all of this file that is being tracked in that staging environment and move it to the local repository? What's the next command that I have to do for this now? Stella,
Yes.
what's the next command that takes all of this that is being tracked and moves it into the local repository?
I'm sorry, before I could move further, I need to rewatch the video. Yes, so I can understand it very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Akin, do you want to help us? Akin has left the class. Akin is always leaving before the class ends.
Is that the commit? That's the commit command, right?
Yeah. It's git commit, and then you add a message to it. Was that Akin or James?
Unfortunately, it's James.
You are not supposed to. Why did you bail Akin out here? I know you have. That's why I didn't call you at all. Okay, so I'm just going to add a message to it. I'm just going to call it first commit. Okay, so it checks that 3 files have changed, 9 inserts, and list all of the files that has changed. I'm going to do so the next thing is, okay, yes, I have all of this in my ahead. Okay, so it's track is so where I did a git status now. So you'll be using git status a lot to be able to see the state of your repository. So this is telling me now that this branch is ahead of their the origin. That's the origin is like the remote repository now by 1 commit. So it's telling you what you need to do, git push to publish your local commits to. So this is the beauty. This is one of the beauties of using an IDE. It saves you plenty of things. This would not have happened if I were using my terminal. Yes, it wouldn't have happened if I, would cloned with my terminal. But because the IDE comes with plenty extra features here, it makes development sweet. There's the IntelliSense part, and when we start writing workflow, you would see the beauty of this even more. So I'm just going to do a git push. I don't have to add any other thing to it or tell it. So all of, okay, that password, did I save that password? Okay, aha. So that password actually authorizes. So you might also encounter this. I thought because I've done this before, that's why I did. So you remember when we cloned and then we set up the password for this. You probably want to copy that password and save it somewhere before leaving. Thank God I've not copied any other thing. Else I might have. I have to do all of this all over again. So this has been pushed to, you can see the URL where it pushed to. This is the URL for the remote repository. And so when I come back here and I'll do a refresh, I should have those two files, that's all the files that I created sitting in the remote repository. So this is basically what working with source control, remote source control from your local to the remote repository is plenty back and forth on this writing of code. You can actually edit your files in here also. You can come here, pick a file, edit it, work on it, add contents to it, changes. Let's add a page. So this automatically adds, so you just click on commit, yeah, and give it a message. You tell it what branch you want it to commit to. But we have only one branch, so there's no other branch. And then you can actually integrate this to a work item in your Azure boards. Maybe this was worked on as a request to a task that was assigned to you. You can, add it to it, this particular commit, and then, I said all of these services, they are, intertwined, you work hand in hand. So this is where this comes in. This is now request to not fulfilling, then you commit it. Automatically, this gets added to. Then you can see our history. Then you have this graph. Because we are adding this directly to the main branch, it's a straight graph. I'm going to from GitHub now. And for you to start working on this, because we've worked on that repository, there's a change in that repository. Before you can actually, if you work on this locally now, before you'll be able to push to it. In fact, let me create, let me demonstrate this. I'm trying to demonstrate this. Okay, let me just create a new file. So this, back here, I'm going to get status. So let's go. If I try to push to that remote repository now, it's going to complain that I need to pull first. Let's push. Should complain, yes. Fail to push some refs. It's telling you that because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. This is usually caused, so you need to pull from the remote repository first. I'm going to do a git pull so that the changes that, that file that we changed here, see, changes from Azure Repos directly is pulled into your local directory. Then you can now push, should accept the push now. Yeah. So this is like a check for, okay, yes, myself and James were working on a particular project. I've worked on some files there. I've committed and pushed to the remote repository, but James has not actually or does not know about it. So when he works on this end and then he's trying to push, that check is there to tell him, oh no, you has worked on some files there, and then you don't have that file on the local directory. Pull it into your local directory and see if this is not going to conflict with what you're about to push in a way. So come back here and then.
So question.
Okay.
So whenever you make changes outside of the IDE, you have to pull it. You have to pull it and push it.
Yes, you have to pull. If the change is done on the remote, yes. Just like I explained now, if you have more, you have definitely you have more than one person working on a particular project. Yeah. So when because a change has been done remotely that you don't have on your local machine, you need to first get it up to date with. That's your remote repository is your
okay. So there's
your source of
there is
truth.
your local.
Yes, local. This is local is what you're working on your local machine. But this,
Right.
yes. So you want to be sure that you have the latest, up to date
version.
yes, of the project as a whole now. Before you now will have permission to push to it, to merge it together. So you see that our history is building up gradually. We've added a few things. So finally, I would want to talk on branching. So I'll be doing this also from locally. So, let me just give space. I think I talked about it earlier that, okay, yes, I'm working on a mini. I don't think sorry. This is actually very, very interesting stuff. By the time you start working with other people, you would see the beauty of working with. So I want to talk about branching and then merging and do the two together. So, I talked about, you have your, I'm going to use the main branch now, master branch. I'll just call it main. Have your main branch where all of the changes that we've been doing so far. This is like the default branch where all the developers, will be pushing their code to. So we have different, I think we've had about 4 different commits now. Let's say this is the first commit, this is the second commit, the third commit, and the fourth commit. Okay, now I have an idea. Okay, I want to work on something, but I don't want to disrupt what is probably being worked on this main branch. I want to create a separate branch now. I want to create a branch that I can use to test this idea that I just got, for this particular feature. So I'm going to create a feature branch. Call it feature. This feature branch. Now it will pull the code from this main branch, but it will create its own history, and then I can work on it, maybe create 1 or 2 commits, and then add it back to the main branch, so that if anything is going to break, while I was working on this to not affect this. But before you can actually push back here, some checks would actually be carried out to be sure that yes, this features here and these features here can actually be merged, that they have the same history and all of that. And then this, somebody else also could have pulled from, this, let's call this feature 2. I want to combine branching and merging together. Let's call this feature 2 that is being worked on by Olumi on his own local machine. He has done some changes, committed it in his local machine, and then he has, it should have come in before. Let's see, okay, yes. He has merged this into the main branch before I was able to merge. First and foremost, I need to pull from the main branch now into my own feature branch before I'm able to now merge back into the main branch. So I just wanted to illustrate this using this diagram. I'm going to now implement it so that it will make more sense now. Or does anybody have any question with that drawing that I just drew? Or after I implement, you can ask the question. James, did that make sense or was it confusing? Guys.
Yeah.
You guys are overwhelmed with Git repository.
Yeah, definitely have to replay this one.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to create a branch now. So the code to create a branch is git checkout.
Okay.
-b. You're telling it it's a new branch, and I'm going to call it Muyo -feature 1. So see, I switched to a new branch called. So if I do a git branch now, see that the main branch is there, but I am on this branch to say yes, I want to. But all of this is still, has been pulled into this feature branch. So I'm going to, let me just add a file now. I won't do more than a file. What should this be called? Store out. Yes, TypeScript. Okay, so I've worked on this. I'll come back here and do a git status. Even though I'm on the so I'm going to do a git add, git commit. So those 3 steps, add, commit, push, they are like a sort of, they come one after the other. This is issue. Okay, so if I try to do a git push now, this should not work because I'm not, I do not have that branch set up in the remote. But again, the beauty of having an IDE, it'll tell you, okay, you're trying to push this branch and I don't have it remotely. So please tell me how to do this. So I'll just take this command, this suggestion that he has given me, and to create that branch in the remote machine, and then it pushes to it. So if I come to my remote now, push this, and I come to this part, I can see that I have a feature. That branch has been created. So if I switch to that branch now, this is that branch. Yeah, but it has not, is the original, let me go back to, so I have this branching.ts file that was created in this branch, but in my main branch, you see that I do not have that update in here. So that feature branch is just there. It would not, if we eventually deploy this projects, this it deploys from the main branch, so that is officially not there. So there's this notion of now merging. So I need to merge this feature branch. You see that he's told you that there's if you can create a pull request. Pull request is merging of code that was worked on the feature branch locally, and add it to your default branch. Yes. So just you're going to click on create pull request. And here you can actually, like you have more than one developer working on a particular project. So usually you want somebody to review your code to be sure that, yes, you're not doing the wrong thing. You probably have a team lead, or if you're the team lead, you still want a second view of what you're doing, so that, it's always good to have a second view of your project. So you can, select that, yes, I want Moyo to review this code, even though I'm the one that is still reviewing it. Okay, this is for optional review. I want to add it to required reviewer. And then you can also, link this to the work item. Yeah. Then I create the review. But so this is assuming that this is somebody else that worked on this code, and then I'm adding to review the code. So after I've reviewed, you can open a thread on that particular feature branch now. That, okay, yes, I noticed this in your code. Why did you do this in this way? A bunch of things that you can actually add to this. So I will come as the reviewer now, and then I'll say, yes, I want to approve this. Approve. So once it has been approved, can now come as the person that created the pull request to say, okay, yes, I want this to be completed. Can merge. You see, this is what I drew earlier. This is the main branch here, but now this is the feature branch that has been merged back into the main branch, and then you can decide. Usually, there are different companies have different merging strategies. Some of them will decide, okay, yes, for every feature branch that was created, you can keep that feature branch. But there's the one popular now is to call it trunk-based development, where once a feature branch has been created, you delete it immediately, as long as it has been merged into that branch. Again, companies have different policies, what kind of strategies they want to adopt yeah, I personally think when branches get too much, it gets very, very annoying. And even though the feature to search for branches is there. So again, different people like to work differently. Some just like to have those branches there so that they can remember, okay, yes, this is what I worked on in this particular time. Yeah, I'm going to complete this now. And automatically the branch has been deleted, and then this it will close. So I just clicked on complete to close that pull request. If I come back to your repository, no, not pull request, back to files. You can see that this has been added to the main branch, and then that's feature branch has been deleted. So that's the notion of branching and then pull requests merged in one. Do you guys have any question or anything you'd like me to quickly go over again as to branching and merge requests? If I come to this history now, you can see that there was at a point in time, there was a feature branch created and it's merged. And you can see that it's a pull request merge.
Interesting.
This gets very, very complicated over time, especially when you have a ton of people working on this particular the project or the repository now. Yeah.
So you said, just making sure I heard you right about the different companies had different policies regarding branching. Does that include how long a branch can exist, or it doesn't matter?
Exactly. Yeah, like I said, there are different strategies. One popular one, the one you just mentioned now, is I think they call it GitHub Flow. So you did, is it GitHub Flow or Git Flow? Now, is a scheme that allows you set policies. I think if you go to your projects manage repository now, you can set policies as to I think branch. How long a feature branch now would exist after it has been merged into the main branch. I don't know what exactly, but you can set it from here. Yes, set it from security. What did you say? Tell me.
Yeah, I was thinking of something else somewhere.
Okay. And so you can also, it's from the policies. I know you do that here too.
I think it might be under the path. Whatever that thing was.
Yes, you can actually set, or you can even create your own policy.
Yeah.
I think you can actually add a policy. Pushes that introduce permanency. But yes, it is possible to determine how long a feature branch, after it has been merged into the main branch, how long it can stay for. For days or weeks, yes. You might have it leave for days or, but again, there are things that will be determined by maybe the engineering head or whoever it is that will be setting up making the decision on how all of this will come into play. It's somewhere here. So just can't. Yeah. So yes, you can create and set all of those things. But I cannot, when you play around it, you will get it somewhere here. You have to it. Don't let, it's possible. I don't want to keep us while we're looking for it. It's very, very possible. We have different strategies, but the popular one now is called trunk-based development, where you delete those branch almost immediately. Once it has been merged, there's no point keeping it. It's called branching by abstraction. So yeah. So, which is, I think, is a good policy. Why encumber your repository with different branches when it has already served its purpose? Any question from Stella and Titi?
No, I feel like I just need to like
do
it, but yeah, go over my video and do it by myself. So.
Okay. So yeah, on Wednesday, we would take time to, I don't know, go over whatever questions you have after watching the video. Because yes, I believe the understanding of this would actually aid the next part, the pipelines, because we'll be dealing with repositories a lot. We would work on different projects, deploying them. That's the heart of pipelines. I think I should whet your appetite down. Again, I think I mentioned the Azure pipelines is like the heart of DevOps, of Azure DevOps, building pipelines, continuous integration, taking all of this code now that is being written regularly, because developers will be working continually on the code base, pushing on every minute. It depends on the kind of product manager that you have and how
how aggressive it's trying to be, right?
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. How aggressive he is to getting the product out there. He would, force the developers to work, and then if he has his designs already, that would actually determine the amount of pull requests, the amount of merging that you'd have regularly. And so all of those codes, as they are coming in, you want to get it out, to different environments as soon as possible. So this is where the pipeline comes in. You create pipelines that will take all of those code, build it, run some tests against it, and then, deploy it to different environments, be it staging, dev environment, or eventually to production environment. So if you don't understand how repos work, because you would also, as the DevOps, you'll be pushing to the repos. Is what you push to the repo that will trigger this pipeline, is what developers push to the repo that will, trigger the pipeline, and then the release work here now. So it's just we're going to go deep into this. We'll touch pipelines and releases that we're working with, and maybe environment also. We'll be working more, with repos, and so you will understand it eventually. You don't have a choice; you have to understand it. So maybe when you go over this again, all of those terminologies, you can put them down, and then you come back and then go over it again if need be touch on one or two things that you need to clarify. All right. Thank you for your time and your efforts. Thank you, James. Thank you, Stella. Stella, you shared you put on your video. Again, during the introductory class, I was the only one that shared my video, and I still didn't find out fair that you guys know what I look like. And yeah, all right. Thank you. Thank you very much, James. Hello. Stella, you don't want us to see your face. Thank you. Hi.
Stella.
Titia, you shared your screen. You shared your video earlier now. Let's say
I feel like this is a threat. Democracy.
Oh boy.
I look like a mess, but hi.
Hello. All right. Thank you guys for this session. I know Akin has left us since, so yeah. Have a lovely night and see you on Wednesday.
All right, man. Thank you.